7. Chapter 7. The Temptation of the Old Life. The sun dipped low on the horizon as Gabriel sat in his studio, the soft glow of evening light filtering through the windows. His fingers danced over the keys of his synthesizer, creating a melody that was both haunting and hopeful. This was his sanctuary, the place where he connected with God and channeled his faith into music. But today, the music wasn't flowing as easily. Gabriel's mind was distracted, pulled back to a conversation he'd had earlier that afternoon, one that had stirred memories of his past life and posed a temptation he hadn't expected. It had started with a phone call, out of the blue. As soon as Gabriel saw the name on the screen, his heart skipped a beat. It was Ryan Moore, a prominent music producer he had worked with years ago during his rise to fame. Back then, Ryan had been instrumental in shaping Gabriel's sound and helping him break into the mainstream. Their collaboration had been intense, creative, and wildly successful. But that was before Gabriel's transformation, before he'd turned away from the secular music scene to focus on his faith. He hadn't spoken to Ryan since, assuming their paths would never cross again. "Gabriel, it's been too long," Ryan had said, his voice smooth and familiar. "I've been following your new work, man. It's different, but I can tell you're putting your heart into it." Gabriel had appreciated the compliment, though he could sense there was more to the call. Ryan wasn't the type to reach out just for small talk. "What's on your mind, Ryan?" Gabriel had asked, cutting to the chase. "Well, here's the thing," Ryan had replied, his tone shifting to a more business-like cadence. "I've got a new project in the works, something big. We're pulling together some of the biggest names in the industry, and I thought of you. I think you'd be perfect for it." Gabriel had felt a familiar thrill at the mention of a new project, the kind that used to drive him in his old life. But he had also felt a twinge of unease. "I'm not really doing the same kind of music anymore, Ryan," Gabriel had said carefully. "My focus is on my faith and using my music to spread God's message." I know," Ryan had said quickly. "And that's great. But this project, it's huge. It could put you back on the map in a big way. I'm talking about headlining festivals, primetime TV spots, the works. You don't have to give up your new direction. We can work that into the project, make it a fusion of your old sound and the new message. Think about the reach you could have, the number of people you could impact." Gabriel had paused, the offer swirling in his mind. It was tempting, undeniably so. The thought of reaching a larger audience, of blending his past success with his current mission, was appealing. But there was something off about it, something that didn't sit right with him. "Ryan, I appreciate the offer, I really do," Gabriel had finally said. "But I'm not sure it's the right move for me. My music isn't just about reaching people, it's about being true to the message God has given me. I can't compromise on that." Ryan had tried to persuade him, offering more details, promising creative control, and even hinting at a substantial financial reward. But Gabriel had stood firm, politely declining before ending the call. Now, sitting in his studio, Gabriel replayed the conversation in his mind. The offer had stirred something in him, a nostalgia for the days when his music was everywhere, when his name was synonymous with success. He missed the thrill of the stage, the rush of creating something that millions would hear. And yet, he knew that returning to that world would come at a cost. Gabriel turned to his Bible, sitting on the desk beside his keyboard. He opened it to a passage he had read many times, one that had brought him comfort and guidance since his transformation, Matthew chapter 16 verse 26. "For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world, and forfeits his soul? Or what shall a man give in return for his soul?" The words hit him with renewed force. He knew what was at stake. It wasn't just about fame or money, it was about his soul, his purpose, the calling God had placed on his life. The temptation to return to his old life was strong, but he knew that if he did, he would be turning his back on the very thing that had saved him. Gabriel closed the Bible and bowed his head in prayer. "Lord, give me the strength to stay on the path you've set for me. Help me to resist the temptations of the world, and to remain faithful to your calling. I trust that you have a plan for me, and I ask for your guidance as I navigate these choices." As he prayed, A sense of peace washed over him, quieting the doubts and fears that had been gnawing at him all day. He knew what he had to do. The next morning, Gabriel called Ryan back. He thanked him again for the offer, but made it clear that he wouldn't be able to participate in the project. Ryan was disappointed, but respected Gabriel's decision. After the call, Gabriel felt lighter, as though a burden had been lifted from his shoulders. He had faced the temptation of his old life, and had chosen to stay true to his faith. It was a victory, small but significant, in his ongoing journey of living out his calling. Later that day, Gabriel sat down at his keyboard and the music flowed effortlessly. The melody that had eluded him the day before came to life, full of hope and conviction. He knew that this was where he was meant to be, creating music that glorified God, free from the pressures and temptations of the world. As the notes filled the room, Gabriel smiled, knowing that he had made the right choice. The path he had chosen was narrow and challenging, but it was the one that led to true fulfillment, to a life lived in service to something greater than himself. And in that moment, Gabriel felt a deep sense of contentment, knowing that he was exactly where God wanted him to be.